Y'all remember that song that Puffy did back in the day? It's all about the Benjamins. Well, in this case, and for the purposes of this video, it is literally all about the Benjamins. Now, I'm going to talk about in this video why P. Diddy and his legal team was very, very smart for settling. And then I'm going to talk about why Cassie and her legal team were very, very smart, in my opinion, for how they caused or induced this settlement to take place. News is going all over the place about this case, but I want to make it clear there are some things that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but I will provide the screenshot so that way you can read it. I'm not trying to get flagged by YouTube, and I'm trying to make as much money as I can from this video. So we're going to get right into it and start off with the charges that he was facing. Now, let me backtrack. I want to make this clear. I am not a lawyer. You are not my client. Anything that I say in this, it is from the perspective of an idiot in law school. I am not forming any client-attorney relationship at all. I'm an idiot. So if you take everything or anything that I say from this video and you try to apply it to your personal life, then you're an idiot just like me. So let's get into it. All right, so here you can see the charges, not charges. Now let me say this, right? When it comes to court, right? If somebody is facing criminal charges, then you can say these are the charges that he's facing. But when you're in civil court, it's called causes of action because it's one private person going against another private person. But here you can see the court case if you want to look it up for yourself. Now, here goes the charges. I'm not going to say the charges out loud. You can read it for yourself. There are 8 total causes of actions in this case. But again, I don't want to say these things out loud because I'm not trying to trigger YouTube to either demonetize my video or cause it to not make that much money. And here is the 8th cause of action. And then here, you can pause this for yourself and zoom in, and you can see this is just some of the things that were said or alleged against P. Diddy. So now let's move on to the next portion. All right. So we're going to talk about why, in my opinion, an idiot in law school, Diddy was very, very smart for choosing to settle out of court. Now, when it comes to civil cases or whatever, you're going to go through a period of discovery. You do go through a period of discovery in criminal, but for this purposes, it's a little different. So Diddy would have had to most likely do a deposition, which would be sworn and under oath and by penalty of perjury. So discovery can be very, very messy, especially in civil cases. And Diddy, he's a public figure. He has this big image. He doesn't want to lose money. He doesn't want to lose clientele. He doesn't want to lose endorsements, etc. So he would have most likely, if he would have went through this process, I would imagine that he would have most likely pled the 5th to avoid, self-incrimination. And obviously that would be no good. But at the same time, the law provides that even though you admit or even though you utilize the 5th Amendment, it's not implying that you're guilty. It's just you're exercising your right. Now, to avoid the whole circus, again, I think it was smart for him to do. I really do, man, because again, when things like this happen, you can get canceled. Sponsorships and endorsements, they all start dropping like flies. So in order to avoid this circus and to avoid a bunch of different details or facts coming out, he chose to settle, and that is smart. All right, so I also want to put in this little caveat that according to the federal rules of evidence, and that's a course that you have to take. Well, evidence is a course that at least in California, you have to take. Now, I want to make it clear that when somebody executes a settlement, that does not mean that it is some type of admission of guilt. You notice, right, if you go through employment issues or any other issues and you settle out of court, you'll always hear that classic line saying this is not an admission of guilt, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's because that's rooted in the federal rules of evidence. So just because Diddy, just because Diddy settled out of court, that does not mean that he is admitting to anything. However, we know how the cancel culture works. So even with him settling, it could possibly still be damaging to him. But if it is damaging to him, he's still able to mitigate it to a certain point. All right, so let's bring up Cassie and why I feel like her legal team was very, very smart in trying to induce this settlement. Now, according to Diddy's attorney, he released a statement and he said, what did he say? He said, for the past 6 months, Cassie persistently demanded 30 million while threatening to write a damaging book about her relationship with Combs. The lawyers said the demands were rejected as blatant blackmail. So obviously, I have no idea if that's true. That would be considered hearsay. But if this was, let's just assume this was true. If she was trying to hit up Diddy to get $30 million out of him, this legal strategy that her and her legal team used, it was an excellent strategy to induce this settlement, because as you can see, her legal team, they came up with this, and here's why it was considered so excellent. Now, again, I'm just saying allegedly in this situation. So Cassie allegedly tried to hit up Diddy and say, hey, man, I need you to pay up or I'm going to write this book. Well, her legal team, they decided to go to court and they had 8 causes of actions. Now, in a way, it's almost like she put a legal gun to Diddy's head and kind of put him under quasi duress. Because as I previously stated, when you go through civil cases, you're going to have to go through discovery, which is going to turn over every stone. And then also too, there's going to be a lot of messy stuff that's going to come out. Also, the other good thing that Cassie's legal team, in my opinion, knew is if Diddy would have participated and stepped out of pleading the fifth at any portion, it could have possibly led to or could have sparked a criminal inquiry. So it was almost like the perfect storm that her legal team created. Oh, you don't want to give me 30 million? Okay, well, I'm going to file a lawsuit. And in this lawsuit, if you say the wrong thing or if you say too much, it might possibly spark a criminal inquiry. So obviously Diddy's team, his legal team, they probably more than likely knew that. So they said, oh, we got to get on this real quick because I don't want you as my client to go to prison. So we're just going to settle this out. So does that make sense what I'm saying? I mean, it was an excellent strategy. And a lot of people, they don't understand that. I won't say they don't understand, but when it comes to these cases, yes, you got to understand the rules of law. Yes, you got to understand how the law works, but you have to equally know and understand strategy because you're playing chess. You're not playing checkers and you're not playing Uno. So in my opinion, this was like the perfect way to kind of put Diddy under a quasi duress situation, because Diddy don't want to go to prison and he don't want to say anything that could possibly spark a criminal investigation. So to avoid all that, he would plead the fifth. But to not even have to plead the fifth, hey, let's just settle, get this done, and move on. Now, I don't know what the total amount was for the settlement, but I guess they said it was like mutually beneficial or whatever, right? So let's move on to the last thing. All right. So I know this might sound crazy, but I really, really love discussing things like this because with this situation, I mean, man, Cassie dropped it on, whatever day. And then I believe it was the very next day that Diddy decided to settle out of court. And in my opinion, I feel like both sides were very smart. Diddy did not want stuff to come out. He didn't want things that could potentially be damaging to his reputation, to his career. He didn't want to, mess up, losing out on money. But at the same time, Cassie knew because he's a public figure and because he's rich, he doesn't want to mess up or trick up his money. So she hit him where it hurt. I mean, it's like, I don't know if y'all understand, man, but this was like an excellent strategy that Cassie's legal team came up with, in my opinion. So I'm not gonna go on too long about this. I'm gonna wrap it up, but I definitely love stuff like this. So whatever the allegations were, or whatever things might have been true or might not have been true, we're not gonna know. We're not going to find out. But I can tell you what. Now mark my words. Now you're hearing it first on this channel. I wouldn't be surprised if other people started doing this against other public figures, celebrities, or people that are rich. I mean, in my opinion, it's almost like you're putting a person under quasi duress, or you're putting a legal gun to their head and you're forcing their hand. So again, you heard it first on this channel. I would not be surprised if you started hearing lawsuits being filed against people that are wealthy or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and they end up settling out of court. Because in my opinion, this was an excellent strategy. Now, look at that, man. We're only at about 10 minutes. I was able to give you my summary of what I thought about it. Now, that's not too bad for a dude from the hood, right? It's not too bad, right? So anyways, until the next video, holla at your boy.